The inheritance. Clara pulled up to the old weathered house, a sense of trepidation mingling with her curiosity. This was her grandmother Evelyn's home, now bequeathed to her after her passing. As Clara stepped out of the car, the crisp autumn air carried the scent of decaying leaves, a fitting harbinger for the mysteries that lay within. The house loomed before her, its once grand facade now crumbling, windows boarded up and overgrown vines clawing at the siding. Clara took a deep breath and approached the front door, the key Evelyn had given her years ago feeling heavy in her hand. With a turn of the lock, she stepped inside, a cloud of dust swirling around her. The entryway was dim, light filtering in through the grimy windows. Clara ran her fingers along the banister, the wood smooth and worn, a testament to the countless hands that had gripped it over the years. She could almost feel the weight of the house's history pressing down on her. As Clara ventured further into the home, she was struck by the sheer number of mirrors that adorned the walls. They came in all shapes and sizes, some ornate and gilded, others plain and utilitarian. Her footsteps echoed in the eerie silence, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Curiosity piqued, Clara approached one of the larger mirrors, its surface clouded with age. She peered into it, studying her reflection. For a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of movement, a shadow passing behind her. But when she turned, there was nothing there. "Just my imagination," she muttered, shaking her head. Clara continued her exploration, trailing her fingers along the dusty furniture and peering into the darkened rooms. In the living room, she discovered an old leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed and crinkled. Evelyn's name was embossed on the cover in faded gold lettering. With a trembling hand, Clara opened the journal, her heart racing. The first few pages were filled with Evelyn's elegant script, detailing the history of the house and their family. Clara's brow furrowed as she read, her grandmother's words painting a picture of a legacy shrouded in mystery and darkness. "A curse?" Clara whispered, her fingers tracing the words on the page. What could this all mean? She continued reading, her fascination growing with each passing paragraph. Evelyn had written about an ancient witch's vengeance, a family's sins, and mirrors that held the trapped souls of the damned. Clara's breath caught in her throat as she came across a passage that chilled her to the core. The mirrors are not merely reflections of our world, but gateways to another realm, where the lost and the vengeful reside. They watch us, waiting for the day when they can break free and reclaim what was taken from them. Clara closed the journal, her mind racing. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being observed, that the mirrors were somehow alive, pulsing with a malevolent energy. Glancing around the room, she noticed that the reflections seemed to move independently, as if the glass held a life of its own. Shaking her head, Clara tried to dismiss the notion as mere paranoia. She was likely just overwhelmed by the weight of her inheritance and the revelations in Evelyn's journal. Still, she couldn't ignore the unsettling sensation that something was not right in this house. Deciding to take a break, Clara made her way to the kitchen, her footsteps echoing through the empty halls. As she opened the refrigerator, a flash of movement in the corner of her eye caused her to whirl around, her heart pounding. But once again, there was nothing there. "Get a grip, Clara," she scolded herself, pouring a glass of water and taking a long sip. "You're just letting your imagination run wild." Yet, as she stood there, sipping her water, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that she was no longer alone. The house seemed to hum with an otherworldly energy, the mirrors casting strange, distorted reflections that danced at the edges of her vision. Shivering, Clara set down her glass and turned to leave the kitchen, only to be met with the sight of a figure in the hallway mirror. She froze, her breath catching in her throat, as the reflection seemed to shift and warp, the features blurring and distorting until it was no longer her own face staring back at her. With a gasp, Clara stumbled backwards, her heart racing. She blinked, and the reflection had returned to normal, her own visage staring back at her, wide-eyed and terrified. "What is happening in this place?" she whispered, her voice trembling.